When you've got a tune that needs a vocal but you don't have access to a vocalist, vocal samples are often the way to go. But we don't necessarily want to sound like every other producer who's used the same vocal samples. So today I want to show you 11 different techniques you can use for making your vocal samples unique and make them work in your tunes. Before we dive in, if you like some free samples, presets, PDF guides for music production, check the link in the description because there's some cool stuff for you there. Now, I do recommend highly before we get into this that you get access to a great sample service like Splice. Makes it a lot easier to have access to great vocal samples consistently. Great, so the first thing I want to show you is that you can create new phrases by taking a vocal sample and chopping it up. So let's open up Splice here and find a good vocal sample to start with. I'm going to go to one I haven't downloaded before.
Oh,
not that one.
Question, my love.
I think that could be good. Let's copy this in. So this is the tune I'm working on. It's a little garagey number. So I'm going to copy this onto my vocal channel here, and we're just going to play around with the timing first, and then we're going to chop it up to get it to work in this context. First, we'll pitch it down so it's in key. There we go. All right, so what I'm going to do is maybe chop these two phrases up and put them kind of... Okay, we'll warp this in time using the complex warping mode for now, and we'll speed it up. Okay, and then we'll put the other one here. We'll warp it as well and speed it up a bit. And I'm going to try the complex pro warping mode now. Then what we'll do is we're going to boost this one up. And that way we've taken this, kind of one phrase and chopped it up over two different parts. And it just kind of puts it in a bit of a different context. And then what we can do is we can just loop it over like that. And we've got an alright kind of sounding vocal to start with. The second thing you can do is to reverse certain parts of it to kind of create new sort of phrases. I'm thinking what I might try is on this last one, kind of reverse it into this section. So we'll go. Maybe we'll have it earlier as well, just so it kind of gives it a bit more breathing room. Boost it up in volume a bit. Cool, and that just creates a kind of different texture there. Can add variation, from this one to this one. It's a bit different now, and great technique all round. Number 3 is to loop short phrases. So one thing I could do is on this third vocal here, for example, now that we've got it warped, I could actually add in the looping functionality. So if you click the loop button in Ableton, now if you're in a different DAW, you may have to do this a bit more manually. I can actually leave the start marker there, bring the loop brace up, bring this back. And then I could also find the end brace and bring this up here. Something like that. Just like a cool kind of extra little inflection there, just to kind of make it a bit different to the first one. And having the timing offset a bit can be a really cool way to do it. Obviously, if I wanted to, I could find the exact moment or exact spot like this here. But I kind of liked what I had before. Just kind of worked. And play around with that. And you could also, obviously also, if you wanted something a bit more consistent, you could loop the whole phrase over and over again like so, where I would grab the end point here and then something like that. But obviously I don't think I want to do that in this particular context. It would be in a different type of tune. So number 4, one thing I've been doing lately in my tunes is actually grabbing different types of vocal samples and just creating a bit of sense of contrast in my tunes by having different voices and sounds kind of makes it more interesting and it kind of jumps out at you. Obviously, there can be such a thing as too different, so it's good to select samples that work in complement each other. So let's grab a new one. I'm gonna search through these and see what works. I actually think this kind of one I played earlier would work well as a kind of little offset thing. Yeah, something like this, and then obviously in key. Turn it down because it's way louder. Now I got to balance the volume, bring this one up a bit more. Maybe even earlier. Okay, that's kind of cool as like a little offset. I could do this here as well, but I think as well, I'll also put on the Complex Pro warping mode and just speed it up a little bit. There you go. That just makes it a bit more in time for this tune. So another tip you could do is to take a vocal sample and put it into a sampler and chop it up. This can be cool to create those kind of more traditional vocal chop sounds, which you could use more of a lead. So what I'm going to do here is take our original vocal sample and I'm just going to put it into a sampler in MIDI here by dragging it. So let us just go full length there. And I'm going to use this slice mode. If you're in a DAW like FL Studio, you can use the Slice X or Fruity Slicer. You can also use the slicing function in Logic as well. You can play around with the different slicing modes. I'm just going to play on my MIDI keyboard here until we get something. You know, and it might be a thing of dragging the sensitivity down. And I'm just going to turn off the velocity sensitivity. Could be cool to like have some kind of cool thing at the end. We just need to obviously pitch it down to the same key. Bring it up in volume and I want to do some different processing to it as well. So I actually liked that MIDI I played in there. Make it quantized. Have it kind of that offset timing. And I think I might just do that twice. See how that sounds over here? Maybe just the first chop there. I wonder even if we were to pitch it down the octave, how that would sound as well. And what I'll also do really quick is just make it so that we only get it while it plays the notes. And then we can do that by putting on the gate mode. And then obviously warping mode. Oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah, I really like that. You can change the envelope. Something a little bit different. Speaking of pitching and time stretching, what you can do is just like, pitch vocals around into different keys. You could even like layer up different versions with different, notes and stuff like that. So I've pitched this down the octave on this version. And I could go up the octave from the original. Obviously it's a bit chipmunky for my liking. You could also go up fifths or down fifths. So I could go up 7 semitones, which is 1/5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sometimes you need to kind of go up or down a fifth depending on what's going to sound good. 2, 3, 4, 5. I liked down the octave for this particular sound. And of course, you can like go ahead and do some cool time stretching. For example, this one we could try, because it's like a reversed vocal. We could times the length of this by 2 and see how that sounds for this section. Have it a bit earlier or something. That's alright. I think I liked it better as it was before. Maybe offset the timing a bit. That could be a cool effect once we add some kind of reverb and delay on it. We'll see how we go. As I mentioned as well, you can layer different versions. So what we could do with this one here is duplicate the entire channel, and we could select these all and make them go down the octave and then kind of get that nice vocally kind of layered texture. The problem is I actually don't want the performance to remain the same, so I'm going to use the complex warping mode to get that pitched down feel. That just kind of sounds a bit nicer. Obviously boost everything to compensate. And you don't have to necessarily do it every single time. For example, this first one I might want without it. And then I could bring this down so it's a little more subtle. I think I'm going to get rid of this here as well. And that's just sounding a bit cool at the end there. I like that. One thing I really love to do is to process vocals with kind of choruses, delays and stuff like that. Flanges, for example. I'm going to group these two together because this is quite a dry vocal sample. It could do with quite a bit of processing. I'm going to use the Ableton Chorus Ensemble device, which is included in Ableton Live 11. So let's add this. And, oh, wrong channel. Let's try a few of the presets and see how they sound actually. Try the default one. Oh, that's actually quite nice. Just the default. Try some of these others. Really subtle funk. Kind of like this classic one. Try the ensemble. Maybe do the ensemble with a little bit less feedback and a little less dry wet. And that just thickens the vocal up a bit. The next thing you can do as well is also add reverb and delay, which help just to make things sound a bit more professional. Just your stock device is fine, especially if the vocal sample doesn't already have that. This one here has a bit of that. Bit of reverb tail, but this one's not as wet. So let's add a bit of reverb. I'm going to use the new hybrid reverb device. See if I can find kind of a nice space one. Let's go large octave shimmer and see how that sounds. It might be a bit overkill for this vocal sample. Maybe a little less dampening. A little less EQ. Let's bring back the dry wet. And I'm going to cut out the lows of this reverb. That's kind of cool. It's probably a little long as well. That's okay though. Let's bring the size down a bit. Maybe a bit of delay as well. Just some subtle kind of ping pong delay. Something a bit less. Something a little better now. Bring the reverb down even more. I'm thinking of maybe even adding the reverb and delay to the master vocals, just because I feel like the other sounds like this one. And that's sounding a bit more professional to me there now. One thing we've already kind of done is start turning this one down here into its own synth. I want to continue that by showing you a few cool different techniques you can do. So if we solo this vocal chop, what I can do is actually isolate the fundamental and turn it into a synth with some EQ. What we're going to do is add a low pass filter and just sweep it down. And we can even use a more steep one, just so we really get that low frequency there. And what we can do now is we can treat this like almost like a moving sine wave, because that's almost essentially what we've got. And we can treat it like the basis of a new synth and add a bunch of distortion and processing to kind of bring it to life. This is a really cool technique that a lot of producers use to get those cool vocally synth sounds. So let's find a nice saturation plugin. I'm just going to use Ableton Saturator. You can use any free saturation plugin or one that's included in your DAW. I'm going to try something like a medium curve and just kind of crank it into some distortion. And I think that's just filling it out a bit more as a nice basis, but we also want to use like some other type of more like overdriven distortion. I'm going to try the pedal device here in Ableton. Dry wet that. Try the distort mode. Okay, that's sounding pretty damn cool. Bit too intense for me. Let's try some overdrive as well. That's sounding pretty cool now. Might even now like kind of EQ it or something like that, just to add a bit more top end. Take out any low end. And maybe we'll just top it off with some sort of multi-band compression or OTT even. And maybe even something like a limiter. And we can see how that works in this particular context, but we've kind of turned this sound into a lead now. I think as well what I might do is actually just add some more chorus to this device here. We'll use the warm ensemble. Let's try that. That's kind of cool, just thickening it up a bit. Adding a bit of that width. Maybe crank the width up to 140. And we can EQ it a little bit more. And we've created like a cool kind of lead sound. So these techniques are very like, you know, it's just experimenting, but thought I'd show you that there. Lastly, I thought I'd show you that it's just fun to resample things and kind of play around with them, especially when it comes to vocals. So what I'm going to do is essentially just resample this entire vocal chain into a new channel. And we will then chop it up, do some more cool stuff to it. So let's do that now. Cool. Let's bring that back. Let's turn the other one off, and then let's just see what else we can do. Add some sort of like chopping effects to it. There's a cool kind of beat repeat, I think it is. Yeah, we can just kind of add this to it. Something like this. Maybe not. You know, we could add some sort of like time device to it.
My love, where's the oh?
Do something like that. We could even reverse like certain whole parts of it, you know, like reverse this. Do like that. And then, you know, it's just like a whole other thing of audio. We could add like compression to it, like some the parallel compression, like really squash it and make it kind of more like flat. And you can add like some really cool creative sort of effects to it. There's this really cool one called pitch hack I like to use quite often. Something like this. Something like this. Kind of create some cool chopping sort of effects. Anyway, this is where you can really go off at any point and create some cool vocal sample stuff. But I really hope this has shown you a cool way to take your existing vocal samples, turn it into something completely different, and just really have fun and make something completely new. If you liked this video, guys, just give it a like, helps us out, and also subscribe for more content from me and the EDM Prod team. Share it with a producer buddy who you think will get something out of this video, maybe someone who's struggling with their vocal sample stuff. Apart from that, thank you guys for sticking around. Hope you learned something, and I will see you in the next lesson. See you guys.